we're going to have a code. Let me just close this here, code in our code block here. So what is happening here is that when you're working, if you never used a code block before, or I hope everybody here, I hope everyone, you already downloaded the code block. So in your code block, you can come here to file, and then you can do empty file. So when you start empty file, you will see that it's going to open a file. This file is the same as the one for the notepad, the one that you normally use. This is the same file as when you say notepad. Notepad is something like this. So it's the same thing, just that mine, it might be a little bit different, but it's the same thing as this one that I've just opened. And we're still going to write a lot in Notepad here in COS1512 and COS1511, but actually in COS1512. If you are doing COS1511, today we're going to be discussing those kind of things. So when you open this file, your file here is not yet ready for you to program, but you can still type a code. So in order for you to have a proper one for C++, you must come here to save file as. In your save file as, you can, I do have a lot, but I will try to check. You can save file as 20, I will say new 2024. So this is the name that I'm giving this file. Then I will, after that, I must say .cpp. When we say .cpp, you'll see that when I say save, it even changes the color this side. So when it changes our color, then now what we can do, we can now start to program we can start doing a programming. I will write hash include iostream using namespace. Visit namespace std, then int main. So, and then like that, I will write also return 0. There is a reason why I start like this. So in programming, especially when you are doing C++, start by understanding, get used to this format, the one that I just wrote now. Can somebody confirm with verbally that you are here and you can hear me? If somebody can just unmute, okay, you can hear me now, because sometimes you'll find that you guys, you are not hearing anything that I'm saying. So if you have confirmed, then I'm fine. So let's proceed with our lesson. So it's fine. All right, so we're gonna proceed now. Just give me 1 minute. I'm just. All right, so now, after when you have seen, we have written hash include iostream. What is the meaning of hash include iostream? So when I write something like this, two double dash, this dash, they are for comments. For comments, the computer does not care about your comments. So hash include iostream is whereby it works with the processor of your computer, the processor of your computer. So when we say it works with your processor of your computer, it works with the processor of your computer, the process of your computer. So in this process of computer, this I, it stands for input. In this hash include iostream, and it's called a derivative. This is just a derivative. So O stands for output. And then using namespace std, it works with their words that they're already declared in your code block, like the words like cin and also cout. I'm gonna explain what is cin and cout. And also we have another one called endline. I'm also going to explain what is endline to you guys. So it makes these words work. But if you don't have this statement, it means that in order for this word to work, you have to do something, which I'm going to show you what to do. But I prefer you just write it so that you can minimize your time. And then for int main is a function. It's a function. So in this function, here, for int main, okay, I think I saw someone who is not doing this module, but he's gonna understand, he's gonna leave. In this function, when we call int main is a function. So in this function here, when it's a function int main, the int, this int here, which is this one, I'm gonna write it. This int means an integer, and an integer, this integer, when it's written in a function form, it's a return type of this function. It's a return type of this function, and the main, okay, you can mute your mic, né? And the word main is the name of the function. Is the name of this function. And then the brackets, this one which you can call open brackets and close brackets, we call them parentheses. So when you have this, we have written 0 here. We wrote written 0 because our function is not returning anything. Inside the parentheses, there is nothing. That's why I wrote 0 there. So now, or O, so now I can start programming. If I write what, I can write my first program that you have seen in your study guide, which is cout, which is hello world. Let me just write it, but I normally don't write these words. But I do admire the first person who wrote this hello world. So when we say hello world now, this cout here, it's working because it's gonna work if we can run our code. The cout is gonna work if we're gonna run our code. It's gonna work because of what? One reason. The reason that how it's going to work is going to work because of we have using namespace std. So if I build my code, let me build my code. When I build my code, in your side, when you build your code, it's just that mine, I have to fix it. I was fixing it before because there were some people I was teaching C++, I mean COS1512 and 1511. So we have to fix this. So I will fix it later. So, but for you guys, when you say build here, or when you press build here, you say build your code, it's gonna show you something here that the errors, if you have errors or not, or sometimes also if you have errors, the red thing will come, you will see it. So if I run my code, you will see that it says hello world in the screen. This is a screen that is like another computer. So what's happening, you're going to be a user and you're going to be also a programmer at the same time. So if I comment, let me comment this statement. If I comment using namespace, now your computer, it does not know cout. So when it does not know cout, when I run my code, you will see it's indicating with red here at line 6. These are lines. Line 6, that it have a problem with this cout, it does not know it. So if I don't want to use the using namespace std, you will find in your book sometimes written std dot dot like this. Now, because of I said std dot dot, which is scope this dot, not dot dot, this is semicolon or colons, not semicolons. We call them scope resolutions. You're going to understand it when we are doing object-oriented programming in COS1512 if you will be doing it. So now if I build my code again, my code will run, will build successfully, and it will run. Yeah, you can mute your volume, né? Please. The one who's okay. It will run. So now we can do what we can. I will rechange it back because I cannot be writing standard dot scope resolution every time when I write my code. So I can just return back my using namespace std. So we have something called end line. So if I put end line here, before I put the end line, let me run the code so that you can see. You can see that between hello world and the process return 0, there is no, they are too close to each other. There is no empty line. So new end line, it means empty, creating a new line. We are creating a new line when we put end line like this end line. If I build my code and run my code, you will see that now it's going to create a line in between, what, an empty line between hello world and process written. As you can see in the screen, it's gonna create that line. So this is called hello. This is about the end line. So now you have learned what is C out actually. We just do something C out and you can see it in the screen. So C out is to display, it works with displays, to display in a screen, is to display in a screen. That's the definition of the C out. And the end line is to create a new line, and then the other, anything that you write inside the bracket, this double quotation marks, you see, we have double quotation marks. You can be your home language, it can be any language that you speak, it won't have a problem, or even you can even make mistakes. You can make a spelling error, like I can do like this. It does not care about what I've done there. As long as when I compile it and run it, you will see that it will output exactly what I wrote inside the double quotation mark. So the double quotation mark normally is a string. So it will take your computer, it takes it as a string. So it's a string. So now when you know that cout is to display in a screen, we can write our simple program now. The simple program that we're going to start with, we might want to ask a user to enter a number. And before I proceed to do that kind of code, I normally don't say this, but in this code block, you can use code block as a calculator. For example, you can say cout 2, 3 plus 1. It will give you the answer of 4. It will give you the answer of 4. If you build it, you will see that the answer, the results there, we are getting 4. We are getting 4. So let's proceed. Some students, they're late. So we are getting 4. If you say 4 plus 1, or even if you divide, it does not matter. You can say 5 divided by 2. It will give you the answer that you need. It's just that it's going to give you 2 because it's rounding off. It will say how many times that 2 goes to 5 is going to be 2. The remainder is 1. Then it won't give you with the decimal, but we're still going to discuss about that. So as long as now you have seen that you can use your code block or your C++ as a calculator. So let's ask, maybe you want to ask a user to enter a number. We can write, a user is somebody that is going to be interacting with your code. We can ask a user enter a number. When we say a user enter a number, then we can have a cin. When we have a cin, we must write, it's like I'm going to have something. I can say a number like this. So this number, I'm declaring or I'm creating a box. But in this box, we have to declare it. Yeah, I'm going to declare it first. Let's say int, we're going to use an int number. When you say int number, what I have just did here when I say int number, I have just declared. It's a declaration. So after this declaration here, the cin, it works with capturing. Is to capture what? A user. A user is somebody who is going to be responding. You are a programmer, but as I've said, because you are a student, you're going to be a user and a programmer at the same time. Is to capture what a user is typing. It's typing in a screen, not on a screen, That's the use of a cin. And if you see, when I use cin, I say great. So this great, they mean extraction operator. And this less in cout, they are different, if you can see that. They mean insertion operator. So the insertion operator and the extraction operator, the extraction operator use it for cin and the insertion for cout. But you can call it simply, you can say it's less for cout and it's great for cin. So when you have these two types of, now you understand this. So the question sometimes, especially for COS1511, they can ask you to, they can make this differently in a multiple choice question. They see out like this way. And you know that this one, you will know that is wrong. So sometimes if you choose this one, then you're going to lose that 1 mark. So that's what, like, but now I don't think you're gonna forget about that because we have discussed it. So now what we did, we declared the something called number. Declaration is like, in other words, it's like you are creating a folder, in other words, in your computer. And when you are creating a folder, you are saying to this folder that everything that enters in this folder, it must be what? Everything that enters in this folder, it must be an integer. which means whatever that is going to enter in this folder called an NUM, it must be an integer. If it's not an integer, it must be changed to an integer. So we have something that now, before we proceed with this program, something what we call data type. What is data type? So data type, the already told you about one data type, which is an int. So int means an integer. Let's have already said that. We have another one called float. Float means it's about decimal. It's when you are working with decimal numbers. So if you use float and you are working with decimal, it's gonna give you with a dot, but integer, it does not give you with a dot. So it's about decimal numbers. I'll just say decimal integer numbers and decimal number for float. And we have double. Double also is for decimal number, but the difference between that, the way I'm going to explain it so that you understand it, is that between float and the double, it works with the things like amount, the money in money, because it says double. It's like, if I know that I'm going to work with something like 10 rand 0.50, you see, this is 2 times after the comma we have 2 numbers, so it's double. So you can use double if you know you're going to work with numbers with the with amount money. But I will say to you, stick on float. Float, it can take numbers like this. It does not matter. It can take as much numbers as possible. So the difference now is the size between the float and the double, how much it can carry. So you can see, you can find those what I'm talking about in an accurate way in something called ASCII. ASCII is the table, standard table for America. You can Google that. That table is there on internet. So we also have something called a string. We are still talking about data type. String, it works with characters. Characters, we are talking about something like words. Like you can be writing a program whereby it's going to ask a user to enter the name. Then I will answer like Peter. My name is Peter. I'm just saying I will have to use, when I declare, I will have to use with a string. And we also have another one called char. Char is also about the characters. But the difference between this string and the char, the difference between string and the char is that char, it can, if you say Peter, if you say a user enter Peter, it will only capture one letter there and it ignore the rest, but you can still control it how many letters to capture. But if you use a string, you say Peter Henson, Peter, or Peter, let's say Peter John, I'm just saying, he entered 2 names and there's a space here. It will capture all these names, and then after, when you see the space, it will stop. But we're still gonna discuss that when we go to a string. When we get to the chapter, there is a chapter by itself called strings. So now after this one here, we also have another one which by many people that don't really talk about it, but it's called bool. Bool is just about true and false. True and false. So bool. So when you are validating, you will be writing a program where you have to validate something. Oh, I don't have it. When you have to validate something, you're gonna use bool. You will use bool. So let's proceed. Okay, before I go, because I know I can start talking and I don't stop, is there anyone who have a question based on what we have been discussing so far? Don't feel free to ask any question. If you have any question, you can ask a question now.
Yes, I have a question. Quick question. Just can you simplify for me the string and the character? I'm feeling to
the string. Okay.
Yeah.
A string, when we talk about a string, if let's say, just assume now, because we haven't written a code about the string, but let's say we declared the way here I declared with int, we declare with a string. Then when we just ask a user, enter your name, a user decide to enter maybe the whole name, 2 names like this, or even 1 name. So a string will only take 1 name. When it see a space, this space is like a space bar. When you see a space, it will stop. It will ignore this name. And then for char, even if you enter 1 name or 2 names, it will only take 1 letter. So in simplified, a char is also about, it works, I can say it works with character, let's say we already say character, but we can say letters. Let me use the word letters. And for this one, let me use the word word. For character word, it can accommodate, or it can capture the whole word.
Okay, if I understand you correct, is that with the string, it will capture the whole Peter John, but the Peter John
No,
will
it
not
will
have a
only, let's assume there was no John, because it will only capture Peter. And if we say a person say, what is your name? Say Peter, it will capture Pete. But with char, it will only capture P. I will show you what I'm talking about now. So,
okay,
yeah, I'm gonna make it clear. You'll see what I'm talking about based on the code. So we were writing this code here to ask a user to enter a number. So this code will let a user enter a number, which is an int number. Enter a number, see number. This one is gonna help us to capture that number user entered. We can tell the user that you entered. We can see out. We tell a user which number you entered. We can say you entered number. Let's say now, because the computer, when we say declaring, we now the computer know NUM, so we don't put it in double quotation number. You can just write it like that. If you want to put end line, you can put end line, and you put a semicolon, a colon. And there is something that I didn't explain. When you are writing in this module, you will see that I keep putting semicolon. Semicolon is to end the sentence. I'm telling the computer that this sentence have ended. That's why I put a semicolon there. So if I run my code and build it, you will see that it's going to say enter a number. I can enter 20. Then it will say you entered 20. You entered number 20. You see, to show, this one was to show that we have entered those numbers. So sometimes you might want to ask a user to enter two numbers. I can say number 1 there and number 2. So when I say number 1 and number 2, it will take me somewhere where I have to explain something to you. We have something called variables. So what is variables? Variables is exactly the same word that you have been using in mathematics. This number there, variable is something that is unknown. It's an unknown, something, we can say something that is unknown. Something that is unknown, it can be x, like when you say x square x, solve for x, you say x, you didn't know what is the value of x. So it's something that is unknown. So this number that I've written here, we also call it variable in this computer science. So there are rules that you must apply when you are dealing with variables. The first rule, your variable must never start with a number. Don't write one number like this. It becomes wrong. You don't start with a number. You can see when I say one number, even the color is not the same as this one. And second thing, your variable, you don't say number, you say 1, you put a space. You might either use as underscore. Underscore is that dash line there. We call it underscore. And then secondly, you can, if let's say you have two variable, it will going to be composed of two names. Names, I mean, you can say house of, let's say house of Pretoria. You can start with H, capital letter, you can say house of, you see, I write another capital letter of Pretoria. So that's how you can write it. A variable is still fine. And then, but the nice thing is that here in programming, when you're coding in code block, you can use them anyhow, it will work. But when they are marking you, you're gonna get 0. So you must follow these rules of variables. It's very important for your results. So we can ask a user to enter two numbers like the way I've written there. You can separate them with a comma if you know that they are going to be of the same data type. If you know that they are going to be of the same data type, you can do what? You can separate them with a comma. But if you know that you are going to ask a user an integer, and after that you ask a user a string or a float, you don't have to separate them with a comma. You just have to write it on its own line. So when you ask a user to enter two numbers, I can hold this number like this again with less, great on cin. I can say number 2. Let's make this one number 1 because we have changed our variable. If I say number 1, it's gonna complain now. It does not know this number because then we declare as 1. So if you build your code or compile, you will see it's complaining because it does not NUM anymore. So, but I change it to 1 and 2. Now your computer knows, your code block knows the number 2. So now it's also complaining again because it does not know this number 2, but I'm gonna erase this statement here. When I erase this statement, we can decide that we want to add the number 1 and number 2. So we can write and tell the user that the sum of number 1, we can say number 1 like that, we can say number 1. I'm using double quotation mark because this code does not know, it knows plus, but if I say plus, then it's just gonna add those numbers. It's gonna say number 1 plus number 2. We say equal to this one. I just want whatever, remember I said whatever you write inside the double quotation mark is gonna be as exactly as it is, equal to. Then we can add these two numbers. Now you can say number 1 plus number 2, like that. You can even put a semicolon. It does not necessarily mean that every time you must be putting, you must be inserting a semicolon. So you can put a semicolon. So sum of is gonna say number 1 plus number 2 equal to number 1 plus number 2. So if we run our code, now our code does not have an error, and we build it, you will see that if I say 20 plus 5, we're gonna get, it's gonna say the sum of 20 plus 5 equals to 25. You see, this is how we write it, this program code with two numbers as I've explained. Remember, today I'm just teaching you guys the basics so that you can understand what you are working with, which is code block, which is C++. So we have discussed about this. And the other thing that you must take into account is that even if when you are working with integers, if I put 4.5 like that, you see, it even stop when I say enter, because now it's going to say number of 4 plus 0 is taken after the comma, the 0 equals to 4, because it does not know the comma. But if I can change this now to float, which is float, it works with decimal, and we say we worked with a maybe 4.55 plus, you see, it even allow me to write another again another value, then it stop. Then, and when it write, it's gonna show you that 4 is showing us there that the sum of 4.55 plus 6.54 equals to 11. So which means if you add them, you get exactly 11. There is no any comma after there is no any number after the comma. So that's how it works when you are working with float. This is the definition of float. So let me explain quickly what I meant by the char, as that other guy asked. So if I write char, I will say char name. This is, I'm just declaring. Remember, this is our declaration. I'm not going to write a comment for now. I'm writing, you can, declaration, you can write anything there. So but your declaration, I prefer that they must align with what your code is going to be doing. So I can ask a user to enter a name. I say enter a name, enter your name. Enter your name. Your user will enter the name. We're going to have C in, we're going to have name there. Then if I say C out name, you will see that in this C out name, it will only display what? One word, as I've been saying. If I say Peter, the way I was saying with that name Peter, you will see that it's only displaying P. But if I use a string, and then I write again Peter, I write Peter, you will see that it types Peter, complete name. But there are things that we're still going to discuss about this, because you still have to learn a lot. If I say Peter, John, the way I was saying there, it will not know what is John, but there is things that you need to do. It only type Peter, but it ignores John. So there's something that you need to understand, which I will still teach you guys, but it means that in order for it to write John complete, here we're supposed to use a function called getLine, but I'm not supposed to be saying this now because of one reasons. We are not doing strings, but you can use getLine function. And when you use getLine function, is C in there, comma, you write name, comma, you can say slash n for end line. Then you must also have another hash include here, which is called hash include strings. So this one, I'm just doing it quickly because we are not yet in this chapter for discussing about this. But if you now build our code, we say Peter, John, it will type everything. Even if we write John van Reisenberg or what, Reisenberg, it will type everything that we have written, you see. So that's what I'm talking about. So is there anyone who have a question? Anyone who have a question? If you have a question, you can ask based on what we have covered, but don't ask about getline for now, because we are not in that chapter. So now you have led a program whereby you can ask a user to to enter a name, to enter a number, to enter a decimal number. And secondly, you can also write a program. Let's write a simple program. We want to ask a user to enter an age. You can say int age. Please ask a user, see out, enter your age. Enter your age. A user will enter an age. But why am I saying this? A question you can be asking you to write a program to ask a user or to enter an age. Remember, they won't tell you that age is an integer. You have to reason what is an age. You must reason that okay, the age is an integer. Like if it's money, obviously you'll see that it's a decimal number. You're going to be working with decimal numbers, which means you're going to be working with float. So after that, we can see in our age. But what is the most important thing about writing? It's not just about writing. It's not just about writing the age and seeing the age. It's all about doing a code must do something when we write it actually. So when we ask a user, maybe we want to employ people between the age who are greater than, who are 18 and above. Then we have something called an if statement. We call it if and else. If and else statement. So if and else statement, it works this way. If the first condition is false, it works in a form of a Boolean. If the first condition is false, then the else statement will execute. So when we use if statement, we can say if age is greater than or equal to 18 years, then see out, we can see out, we say you qualify for an interview. Else, if this condition is false, if this condition is false, you can see out apply when you are 18 and above. This is the if and else statement. So you will see that in my if statement, you can use a braces, you can combine, you can separate the braces. But here, this is the body of an if statement. If, and then here is a condition. So if this condition is false, this statement won't execute. And if this condition is true, this statement will execute. But if this one is false, then the one which is going to execute is this one for else. Is either this is false or this is true. One of these must be true in if and else statement. So if we build our code and run our code, you will see that if I type 12, it won't allow me, it will say, not really allow me, it will say apply when you are 18 and above. It won't allow me to be entered. I won't be like going for an interview. But if I type 18 or 23, it could say you qualify for an interview. So we just used an if and else statement. If and else statement. So this is how it works with an if and else statement. So what about if you want to employ people exactly in a restricted age? Let's say between 18, you want to employ people between 18 to 26. So we can still write this code. So when we write this code here, we can say if the age is between 18 is greater than or equals to 18, and this symbol, it calls and in programming in C++, is different if you are using Python. If you are using Python, it's not, you don't write it two of them. And age is less than or equal to 26, you see. And take into account how I'm writing my greater than or equals to, you see, and less than or equals to. I'm not writing them in the way of how maths write with, like this equals to is after. This is, you must take note of that. And my end there were 2 of them. So in this code now, whatever that is not in between 18 to 26, it won't accept it. It won't, they won't go to interview. Then we can change that to 18 to 26. Okay, so let's build our code and run it. You'll see that if I enter any value between 18 is 23, you'll see that is when I say you qualify for interview. But when I enter a value above 26, let's say 27, you see, okay, it's still saying apply when you are 18. Okay, apply when you are 18 to 26. When, because of 26, 7 is above. It's not in between this here. So what I've just indicated here, we have things that we call, I said this is called an AND. And in mathematics, it means union. Union. These are very serious basics that you need to know in order to be successful in programming or to enjoy this module. Union means intersection. Intersection, it means something in between. I'm giving you all the synonyms of the word end. End means union and it means intersection or in between. In between. In between. So in between means something that, like, they are bounded. Not okay, let me not go further, but you can understand that we mean if we are saying 18 to 26, it means that it must not be outside of 18 to 26. So these things there, that's why you are doing the module called COS1511 for district mathematics, so that it helps you to understand more on this of end and district mathematics. It helps you to understand more on these chapters. That's why they gave you these modules. That's the reason part. We have something called OR. OR means everything. Everything, whether it's left and right, it means everything. But when we say union, and there we have union, and we also have union is for the OR. I made a mistake there. For OR is for intersection, and then the intersection, yeah, they use the word, only word intersection. So union must be this side here, not there. It does not belong there. And then OR is everything. If you put OR here, whether you type, if we put OR in this code here, whether you type 0 is going to tell you that you are qualified for interview, or you type 100, you qualify for interview. That's the meaning of the OR, this OR thing. And we have something called, this one means greater than or equals to, less than or equals to. And this symbol not equal to, this means not equal to in programming. Even in Python is the same. And this one means similar, and you will be using it a lot because when you write normally, like this, where you say 1 equals to 2, you are saying these things that are the same. So normally we use double equal sign. So we are comparing them. And we have another one, this symbol here for percentage, it means modular. Modular is when you are working with the reminders. Reminders is like if you say, when you check our program there, when you say 5 divided by 2 earlier, how many times that goes to 2 goes to 5, it goes 2 times, and what is the remainder is 1. So if you use a modular, you will see that you're going to get the reminder of this code. So in this one here, let me just show you guys how it works. You will see with OR there that every time when you make changes in your code, remember to build first and to run your code. So if I said 1, you'll see you qualify for interview. You see, even if you press 30, anything now, it qualifies it because of we use OR. That's why I said OR is for everything. Is there anyone who have a question? So if you want to find a reminder, hello? Anyone? Is there anyone who have a question? I think someone is talking, but I couldn't hear. I can't hear.
Yes, I do just clarity, just for it to be embedded in my mind. For the if statement, when you are saying if, it's you write the if word and then from there you put the conditions in the parentheses.
Okay. For the if statement, when I write it, this is for condition. And then after that, this condition, and just because I gave you, here is a body, this is a body of I'll just say a body. It's a body of an if statement. But it does not necessarily that sometimes I will be writing C out. No, sometimes you might find that we are calculating something. If this condition is true, then you must calculate this and this, like that. You will see it when we go on, when we go further with the if statement. This is just an introduction for you. I just showed you the if statement. So what I'm gonna say to you guys now, understand the body of an if statement. And if this condition is false, and you have also an if else statement here, because it's if and else. Even if you don't really write this else, it's still gonna work proper. If this is false, which means there is nothing that is gonna happen. But if you have else statement, then the else statement will execute. So I'm still going to go more details in if statement. I haven't started actually. And if statement, you're gonna be using them almost in many things, in many programs that you're gonna be using. Everywhere you will be using an if statement. Means most of your time you will be using if statement also. So you will get used to it. Anyone? So let me show you something again. Is it, I was showing you with modular. If you say C out, you say 5 modular 2, it will give you the answer of 1 because the remainder is 1. That's what we said. As you can see there, it gives us 1 because the remainder is 1. So that's about the modular. Modular, it calculates the remainder. So there are many things. Is it when you are learning, I cannot just teach when I say, let's do a program to calculate, to find out the even numbers. You have to go step by steps. So today's lesson, you have learned how to declare. You have learned what is using namespace, std, what is int main is a function. You are still going to create your own functions, a lot of functions. You're still going to create your own functions. You know why we are typing return 0 there. This is a braces. I guess you understand that there's a braces. You even learn about the data types. You learn about some symbols that you can use in this, like not equal to, how you use them. So anyone who have a question? So if there is no anyone who have a question in a few minutes, guys, I will be stopping here for today.
Sorry, Professor, I wanted to know about the include string.
Okay, let me go to hash include the string, this one. Yeah, you can continue with your question.
I wanted to know what that allows us to include.
Hash include, okay, hash include string. It works with as long as you are working with the programs that is going to be asking a user to enter the name. It can be anything or word, or it can be a sentence, and you're going to be in your string. And when you declare, you're going to be having, for example, string. So you must include hash include string. Like string like this, you must include this header file. In code block, when we are programming, it works, but in some other like Ubuntu, it does not really necessarily work. So, and when they mark you, if you are working with a program which asks names or anything with word, and you didn't have this hash include string, you won't get a full marks. So which means if the code, it was out of 5, they say write a program. And sometimes it's not necessary that they will be asking you to write a program. They can ask you to write a small part of a program. So it depends on the question. So did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
All right. And then anyone before I go? All right.
Hi, sir.
Someone? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I have a question. Hi. Is it a must to use code block? Can I use maybe Virtual Studio or?
For C++, yeah, for UNISA, you are recommended to use code block, but you can still use VirtualBox if you want to use it. It's up to you, but normally I will say to you, like, use code block for now. And then also you can practice. Sometimes you can also use Visual Studio. But normally Visual Studio, if you are using if you are doing Python, if you can use I can recommend you to use Visual Studio for Python. But you can use any, it's not only code block, you can also experience. You can use also Ubuntu. You can download Ubuntu in your computer. And then Ubuntu is an operating system. Or VirtualBox, if you are studying computer, you have to explore all these softwares. You can explore them. But if you want to have much time, just stick on code block. Anyone?
Thank you.
All right. Guys, I will see you tomorrow. We'll speak, and then I hope you enjoyed. Have a good day. Bye.